everyone, and welcome to another episode of Public Opinion with your hosts, Pam and Vanetta. Hi, Vanetta.
Hi.
Hi, and welcome spring. This is still March. We're still celebrating Women's History Month. We are enjoying spring, as spring is in the air, and
Feels good.
It feels wonderful. Spring is in the
Saturday
air.
was so cold, and now it's so beautiful.
Well, that's how the weather is. It just changes like that. What
it's
can
ridiculous.
You do? What can you do? But I'm looking forward to the spring. I'm looking forward to getting out. And, things have been getting back to normal. We're now,
right.
We're celebrating March Madness and, all the other things that we kind of weren't able to celebrate before.
And that you associate with spring.
Also, people are getting together more. They're taking the masks off. People are meeting people. And, but unfortunately, now that we are coming out post-pandemic, a lot of people really did not survive as far as in their marriages and in a lot of other relationships. Sometimes people discover, and with their jobs too, we're going to do a whole show about that too. About
they broke up. Yeah, breakups.
It was a lot of breakups from your job, breakup from your normal thing, people learning that they could do other things. Right. So what we're going to be talking about this week is dating after a divorce, especially post-pandemic. There are a lot of people who got divorces not during the quarantine, but as they were coming out of the pandemic, because they realized, you know what, I don't think I want to be with this person anymore. They saw people for the true colors, or maybe they just made decisions, to just change.
Well, I mean, I couldn't speak from that point of view, but I do believe that some people just said that life is short, because we definitely, everyone was full, and that I want to be happy. And if you didn't find that you going in that things weren't great, but when you got in and had to be with that person every day, it just escalated and made it worse. And then probably in some cases, I'll be honest with you, I would say my husband and I are a little closer, because we had never really sat down and watched the same series of shows and things. And it became our night, like we're going to do these things.
Well, marriage counselors said that strong marriages got stronger and weaker marriages really showed their cracks. So, so you probably, and you have a strong marriage, or it was strong enough to sustain, all the things that happened and the togetherness that went along with the quarantine and the pandemic itself. But at any rate, we have two guests this week who both of them divorced during the pandemic. And so they are ready to date again. They have been dating again, and they're going to talk about their experiences of dating after divorce post-pandemic.
Okay.
Okay.
That's going to be great.
Yeah. So let's get started and meet our guests. First, we have Felicia Williams. Felicia is a twice divorced mother of two daughters and a business development executive in the digital technology industry. Felicia divorced for the second time during the pandemic. Then we have Sam Dickerson. Sam is a former educator and is a man who is committed to serving mankind while representing the Lord to the best of his ability. He is a kind man that can be counted on in any situation. Sam has been married twice and recently divorced during the pandemic. So let's meet our guests. I know this can be a kind of touchy subject and vulnerable subject, so I thank the both of you for agreeing to be on the show this week. And it wouldn't be public opinion unless we had a question to ask you. So let's get started and see what that public opinion question is. Dating after divorce, post-pandemic, how has it changed? All right, so I believe in ladies first on this show. So Felicia, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer that question. So you can go right ahead.
So thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Happy to share my experience in dating post-pandemic. So for me, post-pandemic dating has been very interesting because I am no longer out at events. I'm no longer doing a lot of other things socially that I was pre-pandemic, where there was a lot of us getting together and we were traveling a lot more. I was going out of town a lot more where I would meet people, or, just being at events even around town where I would meet people. That has changed dramatically because that's not happening so much. So for me, I don't do the apps. I don't do the dating apps. I don't have just my time, and I don't have probably the patience for it. So I work with a service who I basically have hired and invested in to do a lot of the work for me. So they match me after a lengthy process to meet men that suit what they think based on my profile and the 3 hours that we've worked together. And every time I've had a date, we get better and better at it. They do a really good job of helping me post-pandemic find men, wonderful quality men to date after it, since I'm no longer out and about at events and the like, kind of being around a lot more people at any given time. So it's been much more intentional and deliberate in who and when I do date, as opposed to, oh, I just happened to meet somebody. That doesn't really happen as much anymore because we're not going out as much anymore.
All right. I like that answer. That's a good answer. And so now, Sam, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer that. Go ahead.
Well, since my divorce and the pandemic took place, I tend to agree with Felicia and reference that meeting people is very hard. It's different. I'm a person, I like to be in the presence of people when I meet them and get a feel or a vibe. I've looked at dating services and man, some of those dating sites are a trip. I mean, the things these women say and the way they want to video chat and the things I'm like, whoa, wow, wait a minute. Things ain't like what I was accustomed to because I've been out the game for so long. But I have found myself more so relying on allowing God to prepare me for that next venture in my life, rather than trying to find some computer analytic or algorithm to match me up with someone. So I'm just going to be patient and wait. And I just find it very hard to date women because nowadays a lot of women are into things that I am no longer into as far as material and things of that nature. I really want someone that I can build with, someone that understands me and knows me. And I want to know and understand them and be able to be patient with one another and understand, because my previous situations have not always been.
Pam,
All right.
Can I add something to that too?
I like that.
Another thing that is, Pam,
Yeah.
Can I add something too?
Sure.
Another thing that was really good post-pandemic for me was friends. So I have had a lot of friends set me up with men that they knew or didn't know, because they know me, they know who I am, they know my heart, and they might know them as well. And so they're like, you guys should meet. And it's been wonderful. While there might not have been a connection, and I don't need to find anybody right now. So I'm also in a beautiful place of, what's to be is what's going to happen. I'm not creating anything from it. And that has been great too, is that I noticed that pre-pandemic and even before, and probably in between marriages, that didn't happen as much as it does now. Where at this age, people are setting you up based on energy and vibration and same beliefs and values and morals. And that's been interesting. So I've had a lot of those too.
Yeah. And I like what both of you are saying is this is now a post-pandemic era. So obviously it's a little bit different. People are just now getting really comfortable having their masks off, let alone going out, talking to people that they may not have known. So one of my questions though, for the both of you is, have your expectations changed for a companion or a date? Do you still have those same expectations, or are you kind of just willing to I just happy to have somebody just to date, So either one of you can jump in and answer that.
Go ahead, Felicia.
So yeah, my expectations absolutely have changed. I used to have a list of 50 things. Now I have 3. Honestly, the first one is, are you funny? Honestly, are you funny? Like, I need somebody that can spar, we can roll, we can have some fun. Are you spiritual? Do you have a spiritual sense and a grounding about you? And honestly, the third one is, are you a great father? That's what matters to me. Those 3 things are really the things that I look for the most. Because the rest of it, if we can have fun and we have a spiritual grounding, and I can see that you're a phenomenal father and how you are with your children. I am, let's keep going. Let's keep talking. So that's it for me. I don't care what you do. I don't care about any of that.
That's good. And Sam, what about you? Have your expectations changed, or what are your expectations now in a companion or a date?
Well, now that I have matured and it's not all about the physical attributes of a woman, I think it's more so about me. Is she spiritually anchored, as Felicia was saying? Does she have a sense of humor? Is she a person who is like patient? And how do we settle differences while embracing each other's otherness? You know, because we have to have a life of our own. And I don't need someone who wants to occupy all my time because I don't want to occupy all their time. They need a life outside of us, and we have to be comfortable and have a serious trust factor. And also we have to learn how to protect our soil. And those are my expectations of whatever woman the Lord brings to me, because if she's not going to put her 10 toes to the ground and fight with me, see ya.
You know what? I know that's right. And I would also say, I would add to that too, Sam. For me, what's been interesting is that I'm noticing that I'm having a lot of questions about what have you learned about yourself? Like, you know, what is it that you're working on? What are those areas about yourself that you're really sort of holding on to say, this is what I've learned about myself, and now this is what I'm focusing on. And that just as an individual, forget about trying to find a mate. What's that work that you're doing? I'm interested in that. I've noticed that, especially after being divorced, my hope is that we all learn something. And it wasn't about it's about how we showed, what do we learn now? I'm going to focus on this part of myself next. I'm interested in that sort of growth too, because I'm always doing that. So it's interesting, but you're right. You mentioned something earlier about those apps. I don't do the apps because they scare me. I just heard horror stories, and I don't have time to sit there and swipe. And then I don't want to do this, like you said earlier, these silly conversations that they're probably not going to go. They're not going to go anywhere. I don't have time, and I don't have the energy to do it. And it's interesting because when I talk to other people that are doing it, to them, it's more like, oh, it's just, it might be time consuming, but I'm having fun. That's not fun for me at this age, at 50 plus. It's just, I don't know. Right. It's just not my thing either. So when you mentioned the apps earlier, Sam, I totally agree.
Now I have a question. For the things that are important to you in finding someone to date or a mate, did you not find them in your former spouses? Did they not have those qualities, and you find it is important that you have it now?
If I may, Felicia.
Go, please. I don't really want to answer this, so I'm gonna let you go.
Oh, okay, well, good. In my previous situations, I was at different levels of my life, and they were at different levels. So we met at a great place. But sometimes we grow and we mature, and the other person is not willing to grow and mature in some area. And we find ourselves in intense fellowships, intense debates and things of that nature. And you be into things about that really has no relevance. So it takes a spiritually mature person to recognize that they have grown and that you be patient and you try to work through things with people and hope they come along. But sometimes some people just are just happy in that one place in their life and they don't want to go any further. And sometimes we just got to know how to keep on moving, especially in my situation, when I know that God was calling me, not calling me, but required more of me. And, you got to be willing to allow your partner to share your partner with the world, if that's what he or she is ordained to do. But whatever they may be here to do, you still got to be willing to share them. And a lot of times people treat each other like possessions, and that's where I'm not. She's not going to be a possession for me. She's going to be my partner.
Oh,
I would agree with that. And I'm not, Vanetta, funny you would ask that question. I absolutely agree with everything Sam said. And I especially around the growth. I think that growth is something that it happens in all of us. We're human beings. We're going to grow. There's going to be things about ourselves that we're going to want to sand a little bit. There's things about ourselves that we're going to want to sprout a little bit. When you can do that with a partner who recognizes that in you and that they need to do in themselves, boy, that's a beautiful thing. When one partner isn't doing that and they're staying stagnant,
Mhm.
it becomes the arguments that you have are less about the argument and they're more about the ego. And it's just not conducive for a partnership. So that's why I believe where I am in my life right now, I'm so happy. I'm at such peace because how God created the situation. I wasn't somebody who thought the divorce was, God, he's going to be mad at me is what the story I'd created. Right. And then that happens. And even the last one, Pam, I think I even shared this with you. It was amazing to me how ease that was in my life. And I said, okay, God, I see you, because I felt him pushing me not to get out of the marriage, not to say you need to be done, but for me to start focusing on myself and how that showed up. And my life has been at such peace and at such joy that I know, and nothing bad to say about, anybody, it just is. And it's just part of my journey that I'm on right now with God based on that. That's all.
I like what you said, Sam, about protecting your soil. And I never heard that expression before, but that's so true. Our bodies are our soil, and and you have to prepare them for growth. And sometimes you can grow probably in a different direction or a different way from your mate or something. So you have to protect you don't want to have your soil infected with something that's going to cause weeds or something that's not going to be able to grow or make it be stagnant. So I really like that expression, and that's true. I'm gonna start saying that all the time. I'm protecting my soil. I can't have this around because I want my soil
protected. Big Sam. Hashtag Big Sam.
That Big Sam. Now I have another question. Would you all be open to dating someone like outside of your race, just completely different than what you had before? Like Sam, would you date like a white woman or Asian? Are you trying to just look at completely different mates this time?
That's a complex question. And the reason why I say that's complex is we're not supposed to see color, but knowing my background, my situation, it's that I don't know if a person of another culture could understand me. I don't understand my struggle. Like, for instance, like, I know it's a woman's time now in our society, but us men, we are just as vulnerable as you guys. We are just as sensitive as you guys, but the world don't let us be, especially us Black males. And I'm looking for someone who can understand, like, being in a room with a bunch of people other than people like you, and you come home and be like, look, babe, let me tell you what they did today. And they can understand the feeling and understand the struggle, and to give you that guidance that say, hey, look, babe, you ain't fighting by yourself. I'm right here by your side. And I get it and I understand. And I could be wrong, but I'm just really looking at what the Lord is preparing, but I love my sisters.
And then Felicia, what about you?
Come one, come all. So well, my mother's white and my father's Black. So I grew up in a interracial, but I'm biracial. I grew up in an interracial household. I'm a Black woman and I date anybody, everybody. And that has been new for me, extremely new for me as of the last year. I had no intention of doing that before. I find it is a cultural shift. I don't believe I'm willing to put in too much work for that cultural shift, if I'm being perfectly honest. If it rolls, it rolls. If it doesn't, it doesn't. However, I have met two white men that I date, and I would consider them, while they can't go to sleep and wake up and understand what it's like to be a Black woman, I find them amazingly woke to the allyship of the conversations we have, that I find the listening ear is better than some of the Black men I've dated, where they're like, oh, girl, please, you are the bomb. You walk it. No, you're not listening to me. So it's interesting. So I date them all. And like Sam, it is a cultural shift, even though my mother is white and my father's Black. I'm used to Black men, my father. I'm used to him, who daddy is from Enterprise, Alabama. Like that's, I'm looking for real, you want some crazy food. I just used to the brothers, but it is different. It is different. I mean, it is different.
Good luck with those greens, Felicia.
Hey, baby, I can make some greens. Vanetta and Pam will tell you.
I'm talking about your counterparts digesting them.
But you know,
Honey,
this
they
is
so happy to be called back. They're so happy to be called back. They take whatever I give them. Like,
But this is
they
new
like, "Oh, I'm gonna throw up."
for Black women, but men have always had the option to date outside of their race.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And they've taken advantage of it. I
Great
applaud
point.
Felicia. Go out there, put your feet in the water.
I mean, I don't have any
Okay.
expectation. I'm kind of like Sam. If this is where God wants me to be,
Yeah.
he's real clear. I'm not going to have to guess or think or guess too much. I'm just very present. I just stay very present. So,
Miss Maya, don't think that I'm not open to it. I'm just saying to you is that where I'm at in my life, it's getting harder out here on us. And you got to be with somebody who really understands you. And a lot of Black people don't understand Black people, especially people like see my size, my stature, and all the other things all the other attributes that I bring to the table. People just sometimes see me so strong, but being so strong taught me to be alone, and being alone taught me to be strong. And it makes me wonder where can I find that peace? I'm not looking for a relationship. I am looking for a partnership. Someone I'm not afraid to lose or worry about what you're going to do with my money or what's going to happen tomorrow. Or if I don't work, if I do work, if I don't do this, if I do that, you still right beside my side because you know what God instilled in me and you see it no matter what the world brings to me.
All right.
Damn, you're a good man. I know a lot of women I'm about to send your way.
Oh,
and if
Lord.
this 35-year
Now,
marriage
this
don't work out, I'm gonna give you a call.
This is not a dating show now. Okay. Now,
If it
And you
don't
know-
work out, I'm gonna call you, Sam. This
Hey, look,
35
the-
years.
Maya's a new Chuck Willery.
Chuck Willery, 2 and 3 back and 2 and 2. The 3 things that you asked us about, the 3, the values that we care about, and Sam and I both actually only had 3 now, as opposed to probably the 50 that we had before. I find it interesting that if you meet that criteria for me, there's those 3 things, the connection that we have, whether it's a friendship, because that's important to me that we have that first, that starts the foundation for our friendship and turns to, whatever happens from there. But Sam, you just said something interesting about, there's some Black folk that don't even understand each other's plight for whatever reason. I had a Black man recently. I wonder if he'll ever watch this and he'll be like, damn, she talking about me. And
Don't worry, I got you.
because he's wonderful. He's wonderful. He's the nicest man. But he said something to me where, he said, it's so interesting when I hear you talk about your day, and I heard some of the stuff that happens. He says, but when I look at you, I see such success. I see this. And I was like, what does that have to do with the fact that I still got scars on my back? And this is a Black man. I wanted to, but I was just like, listen to me.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like all of us come to the table with something and we just want to be heard. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And it's something though, what both of you all got divorced during the pandemic. Do you think the pandemic had anything to do with that?
No.
Not at all.
You think you would have divorced at some point anyway?
Yes, for me.
So you think that would have, but so it wasn't a trigger at all either.
It's come and gone.
What did you say?
Did it hasten it? Did it speed
Pardon me?
up? Do you think because of the pandemic? Because you had to spend so much time together?
No, our house was big enough so we didn't have to be around each other.
Mine too. So no.
Now, finally, because we are going to have to wrap up, but I do have a question for the both of you. Are both of you okay with being alone? Like if you don't get married, first of all, do you all want to get married again? And secondly, are you okay with being alone if you don't find a life partner to marry? I mean, you could have a life partner and just not marry them.
I have no, I'm going to let God dictate what happens from being married again, not being married again. I'm going to be very patient and listen for what he is very clear for me to do on. My flesh is quiet. So I just let it happen. And I don't have any, I got to be married. That's not me at all. And I love my present space right now, which is I am alone and I love it. So I'm at peace. I'm at joy. And I love dating and I love being alone. Like I'm gonna hang up with y'all. I'm gonna watch Fresh Prince. I cannot wait. Love my life.
That's a good place to be. And Sam, what about you?
I would definitely remarry again. And the reason why I say that is because of my position. I don't have too much time for dating and things like that, because I'm a personal believer is when we date, we lie to each other. We show things and do things to impress, and we really don't be ourselves. We trying to say, well, let me do this and this will happen. We put in if then conditions. So yes, I would remarry, but also I'm allowing God to prepare me to be the husband. And he's already preparing her to be the wife. And when she comes along, as Felicia said, it's going to be no doubt, no question. It's just going to flow, and it's going to be wonderful, because I've learned that it's not about those things I thought marriage was about before.
Oh, man, I really like that. But thank you both.
They're both so
very much.
authentic.
I do. I like that. We had
The bio
two
was real,
wonderful
Maya.
guests. We had two wonderful guests for this subject. And thank you all
We
so much
did, yes.
once again for opening yourselves up and allowing people to get a glimpse into what it's like to date post-pandemic. So thank you all so very much. Well, that was great. I really enjoyed that, Vanetta. What about you?
I did. I mean, it gave me new perspective on things, and dating in the 21st century is something.
It's something else, especially post-pandemic, trying to get, your bearings together anyway with everything that has gone on in the world and trying to navigate yourself into a new relationship. I think, it's interesting, but you know what? They both, I think, are going to be fine. It sounds like they
definitely will. It doesn't hold the same cliche that it did years ago. A divorced woman was like, taboo.
Oh,
Divorce.
yeah, it's just, things happen and, you move on. And so I think that's something to be learned is that, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on love. You
Right.
can find somebody. You just have to put yourself back out there, be willing to even do some of the new things like Felicia said with the
Right.
dating service,
Play the role in your life. Don't just let your life just unfold in front of you.
And come
I
into
really like
into the new technology and everything, and still just be open to love. So I really enjoyed that. And if you enjoyed this program and if you enjoy watching our show, continue to watch us on Facebook as well as Instagram. And if you can't check out the show video wise, you can always listen to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. So until next time, we'll see you for another episode of Public Opinion. Bye-bye.